to talk about the importance of the African American history experience at the 21st century, Dr. EKSanford from Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. Sanford, let me welcome you to the show this morning. And I know that you're no stranger to any members of our audience. You've been with us on a number of occasions. And I'm glad to have you here today to talk about the significance of the African American history experience at the 21st century. And so let's start off by having you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of leading you to us this morning, and then we'll talk about other things.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and it's always a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm EKSanford. I'm a professor of sociology at Tennessee State University, and I did my doctorate degree at Howard University in Washington, D.C., as well as a postdoc at Penn State University. One of my positions that I've held in the past that I think is very significant and related to today's topic is being Director of Africana Studies at the University of Montana in Missoula, Montana, where there was a very strong aim at that university as one of its missions to understand the importance of African American and other minority groups' history. So I think that is something in my particular past that makes it relevant for me to be here today. But in addition to that, I would like to say, in reference to that, I have a specialization in looking at the African American experience, the history of it, understanding certain social issues and problems related to racism, minority group problems, health and wellness, and disparities that might lead to high crime rates within the American society in which we live. So I think this whole idea that what we're talking about today, the significance of African American history, is very important, because it is indeed something that we all should share in and understand from an earlier age to the present as well as in the future.
You know, as a matter of fact, this is the beginning of the African American history experience known as the African American History Month. And you might say a word or two in reference to the African American History Month, Dr. Sanford, and then we'll get into why African American history is important. But let's start off by having you to say something about why this month of February is important.
Okay, and I would like to try to give significant credit to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He was the one that really invented the importance of having African American history, and it was a day, having African American history today. And Dr. Carter G. Woodson felt very strongly that it was important at that particular time to then have something that would give everyone within the society and culture in which we live in some idea about the contributions that African Americans have made from slavery to freedom. And then, of course, it turned into African American History Week, and that went on for the longest time, and now indeed is African American History Month. And in many institutions of higher education, many other industries, economic, business, they will give actually some significance and time to talk about the contributions of African Americans this particular month. And so it's very significant and important to do that. And it's a welcoming thing to do. And I'm hoping today we can get into how it is still relevant and important or significant today as it was a long time ago. When the miseducation of the Negro was written many, many years ago, and how the importance of having African American History Month, week, day is important, and even throughout the year, because it helps us to have a pretty good understanding about ourselves, the culture, and for other groups to have a significant understanding of that population as well.
As a matter of fact, I think, as you mentioned, Dr. Carter G. Woodson believed that unless we had the understanding of all ethnic groups within the United States, we really wouldn't have a good understanding of what America is all about. And I think that the ability to sort of carve out in this particular month, it's not to say that African Americans are more important than any other